There is a week coming that most people will move through without understanding what is actually happening around them. They will feel it. They already are feeling it. Something restless and unresolved. A quality of waiting that is different from ordinary waiting. The sense that the ground beneath their life is shifting, not violently, not with obvious noise, but the way tectonic plates shift, slowly and totally, changing the landscape in ways that only become visible once the movement has already happened. This is the week of March 16th through March 20th, 2026, and I want to tell you exactly what is moving through the atmosphere right now, because it has not moved through in this particular combination in 324 years. Not since 1702, not since before the Industrial Revolution, not since before the modern world as you know it existed at all. Let me start with the foundation of everything this week is built on. In February of this year, on February 20th, something happened in the sky that had not happened since the year 1702. Saturn and Neptune met in exact conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries. Not at some middle degree of a sign where conjunctions often occur. At 0. At the very first point of the entire zodiac. The degree astrologers call the world point. When planets meet at 0 degrees Aries, they are meeting at the reset and restart degree of the cosmos, the place where every cycle begins, the first breath, the first step, the first moment before anything has been decided or fixed or written. And Saturn and Neptune meeting there together for the first time in over 3 centuries means something specific and enormous. Saturn is the planet of structure, of form, of the boundaries and frameworks that make reality legible. Saturn is why things last, why institutions endure, why habits calcify into character and character calcifies into fate. Saturn is the skeleton of civilizations and the skeleton of a life. Without Saturn, nothing holds shape. Neptune is everything Saturn is not. Neptune dissolves. It blurs. It makes the edges of things soft and questionable. Neptune is the ocean that erodes even the hardest rock if given enough time. It is the dream that makes the waking world feel thin. It is the mystical undercurrent beneath every practical surface. Neptune does not build. Neptune reveals what was always there beneath what was built. When these two planets conjoin at 0 Aries, something extraordinary is being asked of the world and of every person in it. The structure of your life, everything Saturn has helped you build, the frameworks and systems and habits and identities that hold your daily reality together, is being asked to meet the dissolving force of Neptune. Not to be destroyed, but to be clarified. The things that were built on genuine foundation, on real values and authentic desire, will survive this meeting and emerge stronger. The things that were built on fear, on inherited obligation, on the quiet exhaustion of pretending to be something you are not, will not survive. They will dissolve, slowly and totally. This conjunction was exact in February, but its effects do not end with the conjunction date. Saturn and Neptune move slowly. They have been traveling together through Aries for months, and this week, 3 of the most significant astronomical events of the year are all occurring in the same 5-day window, while Saturn and Neptune's energy is still fully active in the atmosphere. The Great Reset has not ended. It is accelerating. Tuesday, March 17th, Mercury and Mars, still moving through the last degrees of Pisces, are making a series of challenging angles to the outer planets. The communication disruptions and the fog of the past weeks are not lifting yet, but there is a specific quality to the confusion of March 17th that is different from ordinary Mercury retrograde fog. It is the kind of confusion that comes just before something becomes clear. the last moment of not knowing before the answer arrives. You may find that conversations you have been avoiding are surfacing. Things that were left unsaid during the retrograde are pressing for acknowledgement. Let them press. What surfaces now needs to be seen. Wednesday, March 18th, the new moon in Pisces arrives at 9:23 in the evening Eastern Time, at 28 degrees and 26 minutes of Pisces. This is not just another new moon. This is the last new moon of the astrological year. The last seed planted before the zodiac completes its full cycle and begins again at 0 Aries. Every new moon in Pisces carries a quality of completion, of the soul reviewing what it has learned in the full year behind it before it steps forward into what comes next. But this one carries something additional, something that no new moon in Pisces has carried in 3 centuries. This new moon is occurring inside the energetic field of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. The dream seed you plant in the dark of this moon is being planted directly at the world point, in the cosmic soil where a 324-year cycle is being reset. What you intend in the next 48 hours, what you are willing to begin, even in its most embryonic and uncertain form, has the weight and momentum of a generational shift behind it. The ancient Babylonian and Egyptian astronomers who tracked lunar cycles across centuries understood new moons not as beginnings of individual months, but as pivots in the larger arc of time. When a new moon fell at a significant degree, near a nodal crossing, near a planetary conjunction of major significance, they treated it as a collective seeding moment, a point where the choices of individuals were woven into the larger fabric of the era being born. This is one of those moments. What do you actually want to build? Not what you think you should want. Not what you inherited as an appropriate ambition or an acceptable version of a good life. What does the part of you that existed before you, learned to be careful, actually want? The part that has been waiting, quietly, for a moment when the old structures might loosen enough to let something genuinely new grow through? Plant that seed this week. Not loudly, not with announcements, just with the quiet, specific intention of someone who knows what they are doing. Thursday, March 20th. 2 events occur on the same day, and their combination has not happened in this form within living memory. At 10:46 in the morning Eastern Time, the Sun enters 0 degrees of Aries, the spring equinox, equal hours of light and dark across the entire planet, the astronomical beginning of spring in the northern hemisphere. But in the language of astrology, this moment is the astrological new year. The Sun arriving at 0 Aries means the entire zodiacal cycle begins again. The slate is as clean as it ever gets. And in the afternoon of the same day, at 3:33 in the afternoon Eastern Time, Mercury stations direct. Mercury has been retrograde since February 25th. For more than 3 weeks, the planet of communication and logical thought has been moving backward through Pisces, dissolving the clarity that Mercury usually provides, asking us to navigate by feeling instead of fact, by sensing instead of knowing. And on the same day that the Sun declares the astrological new year, Mercury stops its backward motion and begins moving forward again. The words you could not find will return. The conversations that went sideways during the retrograde will find their resolution. The decisions you were circling without being able to commit will suddenly have language around them. The clarity that has been just out of reach for 3 weeks arrives not gradually, but with the specific sharpness of a retrograde ending. Overnight, things that were foggy become obvious. Think about what this means together. The astrological new year and the end of Mercury retrograde on the same day, inside the field of the Saturn-Neptune Great Reset that has been reshaping the deepest foundations of your life for months. It is as though the cosmos waited for Mercury to clear. waited for the exact moment when human minds would be ready to receive with clarity, and then opened the new year simultaneously with the return of language and logic. The last time Mercury stationed direct on the spring equinox was in 1953. The last time it occurred within the field of a Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 Aries was, again, 1702, before your great-great-great-great-grandparents were born. I want to speak specifically about what this week means for the people who have been struggling, the people who have felt, for months or even years, that they are living a version of their life that was designed for someone else, that the structures they inhabit, the job, the relationship, the identity, the daily patterns, were built from what was available rather than what was true, that somewhere along the way, the authentic desire got set aside in favor of the manageable reality, and now the manageable reality has become so heavy that even the memory of what was set aside has grown faint. Saturn and Neptune at 0 Aries is for you, specifically for you. Saturn is dismantling what was built on pretense. It is not doing this to punish you. It is doing this because the structure you built on unreal foundations cannot hold the weight of what you are actually becoming. When a building is condemned, it is not a failure. It is a recognition that what stands there is not sufficient for what needs to stand there next. Your life is being condemned in the most generous sense of the word. The old blueprint is being retired so that you can build from the ground up with materials that are actually yours. Neptune is dissolving the story you have been telling about why the authentic desire is not possible. The practical objections, the timing arguments, the evidence from past failures, the careful logic of settling. Neptune does not argue with these objections. It simply makes them transparent. You begin to see through them. You begin to see that what you called realism was often just the accumulated weight of fear wearing the costume of maturity. And Aries, the sign where both planets now sit, will not wait. Aries is the first breath, the first step, the fire that does not ask for permission. It does not require you to have the full plan before it begins moving. Aries begins, and then the plan arrives. This week is asking you to begin, not to complete, not to announce, not to succeed, just to take the first step in the direction of the life that was always actually yours. Now I want to speak to what all planets direct after March 20th means for the coming weeks, because what begins this week does not end with this week. After Mercury stations direct on March 20th, all planets in the solar system will be moving forward simultaneously. This happens only rarely. For the next several weeks, there are no retrogrades, no backward-moving planetary forces asking you to slow down, review, revise. Every planetary energy is moving forward, building, expanding, advancing. Jupiter is direct in Cancer, expanding everything built on emotional authenticity and genuine home. Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, fusing dream with structure. Mercury is direct, returning the gift of language and clear thought. Mars will move from Pisces into Aries in late March, shifting from the soul's quiet momentum into the body's forward fire. The entire sky is aligned in one direction, forward. This is the atmosphere you are stepping into as the astrological new year begins. Not a continuation of what has been, not more of the same, adjusted slightly. A genuinely new era, arriving at the exact degree where every era begins, with every planetary force moving in the same direction for the first time in months. The Berlin Wall fell in November 1989, 11 days before the final exact Saturn-Neptune conjunction of that cycle. The previous Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries in 1702 occurred during the early formation of what would become the modern global order. These conjunctions do not cause historical events, but they consistently coincide with moments when the structures of the old world become transparent enough for what is being built beneath them to become visible, when the dream and the real finally occupy the same moment. What is becoming visible in your life right now? Not in the world out there, in your life, in the specific, unrepeatable landscape of your particular existence. What structures are showing their age? What dreams have been patient enough to wait while the conditions were not yet right? What version of yourself has been forming in the deep, slow way that Saturn-Neptune things form, invisible and certain, like bone growing inside a body, and is now almost ready to be seen? The new moon this Wednesday is your moment to acknowledge it, not to force it into form, just to name it, quietly, to yourself, with the specific honesty that comes when you stop performing, even for your own interior audience. The equinox this Thursday is your moment to step forward into it. One step, not the whole path, just the first one. And Mercury Direct on Thursday afternoon is your gift of words, the ability to finally say, clearly and without the retrograde fog distorting the meaning, what you actually mean. To yourself first. Then, when you are ready, to whoever needs to hear it. 324 years. The last time this particular arrangement of cosmic forces created this particular window, your ancestors were navigating a world without electricity, without modern medicine, without instant communication across continents. The world they lived in and the world they could imagine were both vastly smaller than yours. The window they were given by the same sky you are standing under was shaped by completely different constraints. The window you have been given is yours, shaped by exactly who you are, exactly where you stand, exactly what you are capable of in this specific and extraordinary moment in the long story of human becoming. I want to speak briefly to the signs that will feel this week most directly, because the Saturn-Neptune conjunction and the new moon in Pisces are not touching everyone's chart equally. If you have planets or important chart points in the early degrees of Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, you are standing at the center of what this conjunction is asking. The 0-degree Aries world point is activating the axis of your life most directly. The structures being dismantled and rebuilt are the most personal ones: career, relationships, identity, home. You are not simply witnessing the Great Reset, you are its most direct subject. If you are Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius, this new moon is falling in your territory. The last Pisces new moon of the year is seeding something in the area of your chart governed by these signs. The completion that is being asked of you is specific and has been building for the full year behind you. The intention you set this Wednesday is the closing statement of a chapter that began in March of last year. If you are Aries, the equinox is your personal new year in the most literal sense. The sun entering your sign on Thursday is the annual reset of your solar year. But this year it arrives with Mercury going direct, with Saturn and Neptune fusing at the beginning of your sign, and with all planets about to move forward simultaneously. Your new year this March is not ordinary. It is the beginning of the era your life has been preparing for. For every sign, this week carries more weight than its surface suggests. The fog is lifting. The language is returning. The new year is beginning at the oldest and most sacred degree in the sky, and you are here because something in you already knew this week was different before you could have explained why. That knowing is your compass. Trust it. Do not sleepwalk through it. Welcome to Vibration of Space.